I hope it is not too bright, Bhupen.
No, you're fine.
Okay, Bhupen, go.
Good evening, namaskar, adab. Warm welcome to the beginning of a new week. Sometimes I wonder these days, what is it that we should really be welcoming given the fact that the entire country, all of us are in a lockdown mode. But we may be in a lockdown mode, but what we can certainly celebrate is the fact that we appear to be on the road to some kind of a recovery. I got a full panel today. Our screen is full. We got all stakeholders to a very, very important subject. You know that in Talk to Bhupen, in this avatar of mine, I only talk of things which are of direct relevance to you, which are of direct importance to you. Talk to Bhupen, which is India's fast emerging #1 digital simulcast. Across the country now, I'm now getting calls from people. Everybody wants to be a part of this broadcast. So my appeal to all of you, you can be a part of this broadcast simply by following me on all my social media streams. This program is live as we speak via Zoom, on Periscope, on Facebook, on YouTube. We got Alka Kapoor. She's a principal of a top school in Delhi. Sandeep Chandraji is there. Yashovardhan Azad is there. Abhay Anand is a student. Hazel is there as well. Hazel is an educational consultant. And through the day, through the program, as we move along, we'll be joined by various stakeholders in this entire debate. What is it that I really want to focus on today? What I want to focus on is something which Neta app founder Pratham Mittal has done an exceedingly good job today to capture, which is that what is the impact of this corona lockdown on the education space, on the education sector? Are we in for a 0 year? All those students who have appeared for their exams, all those students of class 12, BA, BSc, MA, MPhil, where correction of exams is either not taking place or the exams themselves cannot be concluded, then how do you move forward? I first up want you to take a good look at some numbers. What are those numbers? And what is the big question? Are we in for a 0 year for students in 2020? There's no other way to describe the question. There is no other way to look at exactly what is it that people really need to be focusing on. If we cannot get our education policy right, if we do not know exactly what is at stake for students of our country, then how are we going to come out of this lockdown period? One side is the economy debate. What are we going to do with the economy? Fine, fair enough. The other question, which is equally important, what are we going to do with the education space? So first up, let's bring you up to speed with some numbers. What are the kind of Indian citizens that we're talking about? These are all data. On top of it, it's all about data. It's all about facts. The CBSE itself points out how many candidates are registered for class 12 exams and how many candidates appear. Look at that, 12 lakh students, 12,05,484 to be precise. Their result, as we speak, in a limbo. What happens to them? What about their future studies? What about their higher studies? What about college students? What about those who would be thinking in terms of appearing for various entrance examinations? Look at that. The CTET exam, 23 lakh students have appeared. The NEET exam, 14 lakh students have appeared. The JEE main exam, 61,000. UGC NET, 6,81,000. The fate of all these students today hangs in limbo. The overall number that we're looking at in terms of college students, 37.4 million. These numbers that you look at are huge numbers. And I'm already looking on my Facebook stream as well as on my Twitter stream. People want to know exactly what is going to happen to my child, what is going to happen to those who are near and dear to me. So let me straight away first begin with you, Alkaji, and let me understand from you. As I look at these numbers from school to college levels, please tell me, what do you think the CBSE really needs to do to beat this chaos that corona pandemic is really enforced upon us?
Thanks, Mr. Bhupendra, for reaching out to me. First of all, we all know that the diabolical outbreak of COVID-19 has created a catch-22 situation for all of us. It has brought the entire system down to the knees. So everyone is affected across the globe, not just in India. The other day, I was in conversation with the Secretary CBSE, Shri Anurag Tripathi ji, and he has assured one thing which I further want to convey to the parents. rest assured, the future of your child is not in doubt. This is not a situation just happening in India. It's across the world. 192 and more countries have been affected by it. So as of now, CBSE has not taken any firm decision. They are, because the scene is changing almost every week. So whatever is going to happen is going to happen in the interest of the students. I will just share an example with you.
That's what I want to know. Alka ji, I agree with you that interest of the students will be paramount. But I want to know, when I'm looking at this kind of big numbers, 37.4 million is a huge number. What is it that the CBSE can really do? Tell me. What is it that CBSE can really do to ensure that these students have a seamless entry into colleges?
See, online exams are, I don't think they are on the cards, because it's not very easy, because we were under the grip of this pandemic all of a sudden, and all of a sudden everyone was expected to do things that we have not been doing till now. However, CBSE is the first board to have come forward with an online program, online teaching learning program. However, I don't think anything has been finalized that how the CBSE is going to have the exams. I think it's a wait and watch situation. CBSE is not very clear on what the outcome will be after the lockdown, because you never know, the lockdown may end.
That is what scares me, Alka ji. That is what is scaring me. The CBSE and Arundhati Roy, who's one of my loyal viewers, she's there on our Facebook feed. She's saying that we need to look at the ICSE numbers as well. The other boards across the world have taken a decision on the results. IB and A levels have decided to go with predicted scores. And you're saying, Alka ji, that CBSE still doesn't know how to come out with this, how to come out of this pandemic. This is what is scaring parents like Arundhati.
But I think we will have to wait and watch, because even the IB boards, they haven't decided anything much. Nothing much has been decided. I was in a conversation with a couple of principals from the ICSE board, the IB boards. Nothing, no such decision has been taken, because you never know. I mean, there are many universities across the world which have deferred examination for this complete session.
All right. Pratham Mittal is there from Neta app, and exactly the question, Alka ji, that I'm raising before you, and you're saying that, well, CBSE doesn't know how to deal with this, and already parents joining me on my Facebook feed and on my Twitter feed and saying that how can CBSE take this position? How can this be just a politically convenient position that we look after the interests of the students? But Pratham, so you've conducted a special poll today for Talk to Bhupen. Pratham is the founder of Neta app, one of the biggest polling exercises that you will see anywhere in the country. And look at what Pratham's poll finds out. Pratham, why don't you talk us through the numbers?
Sure. So we asked a very simple question to all the students. We asked the question, how certain are you about your college prospects this year, or about your further education prospects this year? And we asked three kinds of students. We asked the high school students who are going into college. We asked the college students who are going into masters. And we asked the college students who have applied for jobs, right? So three different sections. In the first section, we asked the high school grads who are going to college. And there, the situation looks really grim. 84, almost 85%, it's 84.88% of students feel uncertain about their college prospects, right? Only 15% have any degree of certainty, right? So these are students who have applied in JEE, who have applied for NEET, who have applied, who have taken their half their board exams, but haven't completed them. So they are completely uncertain and they're anxious, right? So 85% is a huge number. Basically, everybody is anxious. No points for guessing that. Second, asking the college grads who are going for jobs, further jobs, right? And there, because we know that a lot of the companies have decided not to recruit or decided not to honor the offers that they've already given. So here the situation is slightly less grim, but grim nonetheless. 78%, almost 79 in fact, percent of all the people who were surveyed are anxious, are uncertain about whether they'll find a job come June, July, August, whenever it opens up. And so finally asking
yeah, Pratham, but I'm looking all the numbers that I'm looking at in your poll, Pratham. They're basically telling me that a major chunk of students in India who have appeared for their class 12 exams and upwards, extremely anxious and extremely uncertain. CBSE, ICSE, the education boards not really adding in any way to satisfy these concerns. by not coming up with a solution. Would that be a correct way to read this poll today, Pradhan?
I mean, with the numbers that we are seeing, yes. But I mean, I don't blame the authorities as well because they don't know when things will open up and how to plan for them. So if it opens up on 3rd May, then perhaps they can do some exams before the cutoff dates and before the deadline for colleges. But if it continues beyond June, beyond July, then they're looking at a completely different scenario. So I don't really blame them because it's not even in their hands. You know, it's not that they have the answers themselves.
Yashoji, please tell me, as a bureaucrat, Yashoji, how does one deal with a situation like this? When I have such huge numbers where almost 85% of high school grads uncertain, college grads going for masters, 60% uncertain, I take all this uncertainty. It makes me feel as if the youth of this country just don't know what lies in store for them. What should the government really be doing according to you?
I agree that this is a period of great uncertainty. Not only does the uncertainty lie at the level of the CBSE, it is also at the level of UGC, because I asked a few friends in my academic community and the colleges where I'd studied in Delhi University, and they're also not aware as to what exactly will be done. But the government has to take a few decisions. And I think the critical exams are the 12th exam, the graduation exam of 3rd year, and the MA final exam. And in all probability, when the lockdown is expected to be over by 3rd of May, I think the board exams which are remaining should be planned for the, say, around first week of June. And in the meantime, provisional admission to take the exam, these competitive exams should already be planned for, because when they appear for the board exam in June, their results will come out later. But in the meantime, at least they can appear for the competitive exams. Regarding the other classes, the best thing would be to promote them straight away. Even in colleges, for example, where you have a semester system, and the college professors were telling me that they, of course, for the first year and 2nd year, the promotions can be given directly. But the 2nd semester of the 3rd year is a problem, because if there is no teaching, how will you have exam? The second problem is that in the 2nd semester, you know, too many things happen. The annual college festivals, the DUTA issues come up and things like that. So again, that is one thing which you have to postpone to a later date. And that again happens to the MA final. So number one, the first semester for the newly inducted college, the people who pass out from school should start somewhere around September. The 3rd year students, again, the exam would be taken and that will be pushed back late. And similarly for the final year in MA. Now, these are tough times, as Alka Kapoorji also said, but you have to take a decision and give some kind of idea to the students and parents.
Some decision needs to be taken. But Abhay, firstly, tell me, Abhay, what exam have you appeared for or are you about to appear for?
So I study in IGCSE. So our boards entirely were cancelled. So I haven't given even one board exam this year. However, Cambridge was pretty quick with releasing a statement. They gave us information quick. And even though they fully didn't have information at first, they released it part by part. And I think they did it really nicely. So as you mentioned previously, we're going to get predicted grades. And there's an entire system on how we're going to get
Does
graded.
this in any way tell me what your future education plans were? How does this corona pandemic and the problems which we are witnessing around us, how does this impact, Abhay, your future plans of going in for higher studies?
Obviously, initially, we were really anxious, as you guys had put it. But I think Cambridge and has also, and even in our school, they've talked to a lot of the colleges, and they're saying that for our current batch, they're going to be really understanding about the situation. So I think even though this is a pandemic and a lot of wrong things have happened, I think that the people will understand that this is really a crisis, and students had no choice; they couldn't do anything. So yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Sandeep Chandra is with us too as well today. Sandeep ji, your thoughts on what is it that the government really needs to do? The HRD ministry in the past came up with a suggestion that students up to basic primary level should be given pass certificates. I take that point. But
Correct.
when class 12, as Abhay is talking about, or when you are in, in college levels, how do you deal with a scenario like this?
You see, Bhupenji, first of all, I wanted to compliment you that you started this new digital live streaming platform, which has now become very popular across the country. And nobody knows more than you, because the kind of domain knowledge you bring on the table is mind-boggling. I'll come straight to the topic. You see, we not only need to catch the bull by the horns, but we also need to know how to overturn it. There are three main points: is that we should have a seamless approach. There should be a white paper. There should be no confusion. We have to factor in things like, you see, some students' parents may be down with coronavirus. Students may not be well. But I am against this, this promotion without exams. We are not ready for, exams, where students don't appear in person, right? My point is very simple. You also have to factor in what kind of view foreign universities are taking. Suppose a student wants to go abroad for, pre-grad or post-grad, and also there should be a uniform policy across the country. And the government needs to take this very seriously. We cannot afford to play with the lives of students as far as the academics are concerned. So the government needs to appoint, a high-powered committee headed by somebody who is educated, who knows, not headed by a politician who is uneducated.
No, Sanjeev, then let me bring in Sanjeev Shivesh on that one. Sanjeev, Sandeep's point is valid that, well, don't bring in a politician, bring in someone else. I take that point. But then the question is, how do you move forward? Yashoji has given some solutions. The IB board has already decided what needs to be done. But Sanjeev, the biggest factors at play here is the CBSE and the ICSE board. How do you provide relief to lakhs of students like Abhay because of this corona pandemic? Just unmute yourself, Sanjeev. I'm unmuting you. Yeah.
So, sorry, Bhupen, I think a tough time calls for tough actions. And what everyone is holding on to, that by May 3rd, it will vanish. Chances are very low. What if it does not vanish on May 3rd and it extends up to June, and it extends up to July? Then how are we going to deal with the situation? Now, if someone has to look at this and say that, look, this is a difficult time, a worst case scenario, we really need to plan and say that we need to provide an exit to all the students who have to move out of a school system or a college system or a university system, whichever grade they are in. Which means that the conventional form of assessment that we were used to is not going to hold through. And and as a society, we really need to open our minds and say that this is not the way assessment system has to work. And there are various means. So you can still give students assignments and then say that submit it online, and then we are going to assess. So there could be logistical issues, and I admit, so some regions in the country will not have Wi-Fi connectivity, and some students will not have mobile connectivity, and perhaps we need to sort of the state needs to provide for those logistical challenges. I give you an example, Bhupen. This is and we have some interesting solutions within the government framework. So I'm part of one of the sector skills councils, which is called Management Entrepreneurship Professionals Sector Skill Council, right? And I think this is followed in all the sector skills council. So everywhere where assessment needs to happen, the council provides for their own pads. And these pads are some sort of automated pads where you don't need pen, paper, pencil. And anytime when the exam switches on, the camera also switches on and everything gets recorded. So some sort of large scale, mass scale solution is available in our system. And perhaps we need to quickly, and people in CBSE and ICSE and all the administrators there really need to integrate these solutions and say that, okay, we have option 1, and these are the cons of this option. We have option 2, and these are the cons of this option, but we need to provide an exit. And last point, which I really need to make, what is the end goal of exit? So end goal of +2 exit is that people get people try and apply for admission in Delhi University and at some other place. Now, Delhi University, for example, this year already planned that they are going to have an entrance test. So we really need to think, do we need to have this duplication of exams, right? So if Delhi University is going to have, and perhaps then we really need to talk to all university systems that for this year, plus two students who are graduating, they're not going to take the exams or they have taken partial exams. You need to have one filter test, and basis that filter test, take the admission, right?
Hazel, how does it work? Hazel, all these solutions which Sanjeeva ji is talking about, I mean, I don't know whether any of these solutions is achievable. They appear to be nice, but are they really achievable, Hazel?
Bhupen, can I come in for a second?
Yeah, Sandeep ji, one more. Let me just hear Hazel and I'll come to you.
Okay.
So kind of very interesting, very mixed, and of course it kind of creates a very scary situation of what is possible and what is not possible. Definitely, we need to break it up into two parts. We have to have short-term goals and we have to have long-term. There are many reflective thoughts and suggestions that have been made, because that is extremely need to be looked at, because we need to delve into the whole system of assessment, which is absolutely integral or key to this whole issue. Whether we can continue with the old, we will have to adapt. There is no question about that. So we need to embrace that. It's not going to be, and May 3rd is not a defining moment that will just take away everything and say we can go back to where we were. Absolutely not. So we need to embrace the reality and the truth that we will have to adapt. There are very good suggestions that already panelists have talked about, which needs to be adhered to. We need to look also to the existing prototypes. There are lots of online platforms that have emerged in the last 2 years in the edutech space. And this would be a very important opportunity to kind of connect to that. Plus, we should look at our distance learning mechanism, our Igcse, our correspondence courses. Certain prototypes are already there. I have seen this very closely with international education, which is where I look at, and I understand the angst of students, because a lot of them had planned to go to study abroad, and everything is kind of at a status quo or a limbo. But when I look at universities, they very quickly adapted into moving into an online space using a prototype that was existent. Their continuing education department, their distance learning, that was already in place. So they looked at that, and they kind of very quickly bought the professors on it, because it's extremely important to look at your two clients, your teachers and your student. You need to get them on board, and you need to create a mechanism. So here we are harping a lot about online, but is the learner ready? And in a complex country like ours, it's absolutely, it's not a one fit size kind of thing. We have to be, it has to be kind of layered.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. I want to go back to Alka ji on that one, because while you were talking about is the learner ready, is the provider ready or not, we also need to look at exactly how government has looked at the space of education. So we pulled out some numbers from the budgetary papers, how much money is actually being spent by the government. And I want to put that graphic up for you now, because it will give you a very clear picture of how challenging the scenario really is. What tends to happen, and our producers will pull that up, what tends to happen when a sector which is anyway stressed, such as the education sector, what happens when you end up staring at a scenario like the COVID scenario? So look at India's young population versus higher education funding. 15 to 24 years population, 18% total. Higher education budget is 1.47 lakh crores. That's the budget. In terms of percentages, that is a budget that we're looking at. So anyways, one thing where you're stuck is that you're not spending enough money on higher education. The second point where you're stuck is the state university versus central university. They can be private universities, they can be government universities, they can be private, just like private schools versus government schools. Look at that, state universities are being ignored. Now here we want, and that's where I think that Hazel's point is well taken, that on one hand, we haven't really gone out of our way to look after educational infrastructure, which has been created by the government. And now because we're stuck with this kind of a crisis, we suddenly want everything to go digital. How does everything go digital then, Alka ji?
Okay. I'll answer your question. First, let me come back to Sanjeev ji when he said about the primary classes and the government must think. It's according to the RTE that every child is being promoted as per RTE without taking an exam. So it's not this that every child must take an exam to get promoted because the rules don't permit us. So 8th is taken care. So 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 10th and 12th is dicey. It's a catch-22 situation, as I said earlier. 9th and 10th, 9th and 11th, we've given provisional promotion to these children. Many schools had already declared the result. So we are moving in accordance to the rules as of now. Now coming to the online classes. Online classes, of course, everywhere in remote areas. We are talking about the country at large. So in remote areas, this facility was a little alien, I would say. But then, yes, we've been trying to manage in the best possible way because we've been working on through smartphones. We've been working, recording sessions for them. If online internet connectivity is not there, not just the online classes, we are recording lectures for them. We are sending them videos. We are giving them assessment sheets. So online, the teachers and the children are trying to sharpen their X online, you know.
But can I share my view? Alkaji, I'll share my view with you.
Yeah.
You know, and lot of parents joining me on my Facebook feed, and everyone appears to be veering to the point which was just expressed by Hazel, that how sure are we that the students are consuming this internet-based education model which is being created? I'm a parent myself. I have 2 kids. My son is in class 2. My daughter is in class 7. And I can tell you that it's not really a very easy experience. So on one hand, we're talking about what will happen to those who have appeared for their exams and the results are not being declared. On the other hand, we're saying that even those who are studying, is the existing model which has been created, is it really helping their cause? Neither are we helping those who have appeared for exams, nor are we helping those who seem to be studying in these internet models.
But this is the best that the teachers and the students are able to do in a very, very structured way. The online classes are on. I'm sure it's not as the face-to-face classes, the advantage that we get by the face-to-face classes, but this is the best that schools can offer in this given situation because the education system is actually fractured.
So I understand clearly. And Sanjeev ji has a point to make. Yes, Sanjeev ji.
Right, Bhupen, look, there are 2 issues that we're discussing. How do we disseminate education to the entire...
that's separate issue. That's separate issue. That is, I think, the secondary issue. First issue is that exams. Those who appeared for exams, how do you do justice to them?
So those who have appeared for partial exam, you just need to, so for example, if I've taken 5 papers, 6th one is missing, you can just declare the result even with 5. 6th is not important. And that judgment has to be taken by CBSE. Look, Bhupen, to me as a decision maker, the options are very clear. I have 6 options. I evaluate all those 6 options and say that this is the best that we can take for this year and move ahead with that. Right. So for CBSE, I think the situation is far better as compared to state boards and all other forms of board, at least for class 10th and 12th. I think for all other classes, it does not matter, right, at school level. Similarly, at college, as Yash explained, it does not matter. Only grade which matters is the final year, the undergrad, and for the masters, the second year of the master. So these are the, the grades where...
Can I come in now?
Yeah, Sandeep, one more. Yeah.
So these are the places where exits are there and these matter. The question is, how do I provide exit to these people? Do I need to really go back to the old forms of exam? The answer is perhaps no, it is not going to work because I really don't think that we are going to get out of this crisis on 3rd, which means that I really need to come up with new ways, novel ways of taking exams, give assignments, give people to write something and make those to be, people can take photos from phone and then submit it back to the teacher and liberalize the sort of assessment, the rigor which is required in a university examination process. So what happens in a university examination process? There's a third teacher or third party who evaluates, right? I think we really need to, fit these jigsaw and say that this year it's going to be simple, have
Abhay,
trust on the teacher.
Let's ask the student. Since Abhay is there, let's ask Abhay this question. Abhay, what is it? Yashoji, I'm coming to you. Abhay, which is this model, Abhay? Which model do you think is best suited to take care of your concerns and your anxieties?
So personally, our school right now is employing the model of online learning, and I think I support that idea. There are a lot of reasons for that, but mainly I think that I agree with Sanjeeva sir again that in this time it's really hard to find any kind of solution, and I think the best possible solution is online learning.
Online, but Anurag Lal is there on my Facebook feed, and he's talking about this, that an online model for all may not really succeed. Sandeep ji, an online model for all does not succeed.
Yeah, Bhupen.
Said, well, this school may have some suggestion, but I'm still on that fundamental point which has been triggered up by Pratham's poll, that if students who have appeared for their exams, they don't, why is it that government is not reaching out to them? Why should the government not tell them clearly that, boss, this is a problem, we agree, this should be the solution?
Bhupen, you're very right that the government doesn't need to, be reactive. It needs to be proactive. You are dealing with lives of lakhs of students, number one. Number two, in this regard, it is in this context I'm saying that Corona problem is there all over the world, but you look at how some governments have become proactive and they jumped onto the problem in January without making excuses. Even the French, President Emmanuel Macron, he said, look, we made some mistakes, but today you'll be surprised to know the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, everybody is joined in. You look at the Lady Prime Minister of Netherlands, how she's tackled this. We need to have some solutions. Solution A, B, C, D. Also, kindly remember, students come from very poor backgrounds. They come from affluent backgrounds. They come from middle-class backgrounds. You cannot, we need to factor in the last students standing in the line and also get on with it. Now, your distance learning and your examinations, which are online, this coronavirus has speeded up all these things. And we also need to see that our education does not suffer, you see. And there is a saying, one last point, there is a saying, bad decision is better than no decision. We need to come out with something,
Come out of it. Yashoji, bad decision. A lot of politicians joining me on my Facebook stream as well. Ragini Nayak is there on my Facebook stream as well. But Yashoji, bad decision versus no decision.
Yeah, I agree with Sanjeev's views. That you can't just sit back. Right now, my first point is that out of the mass of problems that have been projected, and we are all in this pandemic, some decisions have to be taken. And therefore, this decision has to be a very important one. And as I maintained earlier, that you have to see what is your priority. The priority is 12, third year, and MA final. And how do you fix them? There might be views that for the 12th exam, you can do it through assignment, you can do it with whatever. I feel personally that June is the time when you have to have the exam, because this is a very critical thing. For college admissions, you have to have a centrally based exam or a statewide exam where the level of qualification, the level is tested. In the third year, you talk to the academic community in the university. They are saying that in the first and 2 years, you can do a promotion without any problems. But for the third year, there is a problem, because has there any teaching been done in the second semester at all? That is an issue. So that has to be sorted out after May, where you have to have special classes or something, but you have to have an exam. The reason Bhupen is very important.
But how, sir? How? You're assuming that after May it will be possible to conduct classes.
No,
look at what Delhi Chief.
Yashoji is very right.
That's the problem. You are opening up the economy after 28th. There are a lot of people who are moving around. The essential services are on. This is a part of essential services you can't leave behind. Today in Delhi University, there are many people from Kota or from my state in Jharkhand and Bihar where nothing online can be done. There is no bandwidth for the internet. And I agree with you that online education system cannot be done. One of the professors told me that we are trying to give lectures and give them packets and things like that, but that doesn't work over there. And therefore, you have to have the physicality part of it. And that's why I'm saying the 12th exam has to have, you have to, take the bull by the horn.
Absolutely.
And for the third year.
Alkaji, take the bull by the horns, Alkaji. Are you ready to do that?
No, not at all. Because for me, first and the foremost is the priority is the life, safety, and security of health of a child. So as Sanjeev ji said that he doesn't see the schools reopening even on the 3rd of May. I actually don't see schools reopening maybe till the end of the June. So things are not easy. It's easier said than done. I tell you, we are facing difficulty in online teaching because there is one computer in our house and there are 4 people to use it because the work is going on from homes. So things are not easy. But then I'm told the Prime Minister is equally anxious about the education system as he is about the health sector. He's having constant meetings with the Minister of Human Resource Development. But as of now, there seems to be no such solution. Another part, that even if the exams happen in one or the other way, do we have enough colleges to consume those children? We don't have them. And universities abroad, they don't seem to be working because the Boston University, again, has deferred the academic session from June to probably coming January 2021. So things are fluid. It's all fluid as of now. Yes, the concern is education is the priority, but then how?
But how? How? Hazel, what are the... Yeah, Pratham, you want to come in? Yes, Pratham, go ahead.
Yeah, Bhupen, we can't go on. Bhupen, we can't go on discussing the problem. We need to have a
solution.
Right.
I think
the Bhupen.
Pratham. Yeah, one more. Sanjeev, Pratham, and then yes, Pratham, go ahead.
See, I think the country has now been divided into 2 parts, right? One is the hot spots and one are the safer areas, right? So I think one of the more logical things to do for the government would be that at least for the rest of the country, maybe 90% of the country that doesn't fall within a hot spot, there things can, come back to normalization. So there we can start doing those tests. At least 90% of the students will be fine. The 10% areas where we have hotspots, right? The cities and the hotspot areas, there we should treat those cases separately and differently. So at least 90% of the cases are resolved, right? And so that's what we are doing for, easing of industrial affairs, etc. as well. So like, for example, my city, I live in Kapurthala, which is in Punjab. Here, there hasn't been a new case in the last 10 days, right? Hopefully another 4 days, there'll be no new cases, probably we have gotten rid of it in our constituency.
No, I don't agree with it because
Unfortunately,
you cannot say no new. Bhupen, you cannot say no new cases because we are not testing.
So that's one.
We are not
The
testing.
second problem in that argument is that then you're being unfair. You see, to students who cannot appear for exams in Delhi or elsewhere. How do you work out a scenario where in Kapurthala it's possible, but in Delhi it's not possible?
No,
Hazel,
but Bhupen, can I build on what Pratham has said? Because I think Pratham has look, this is a mini-max situation. So where you have suboptimal, but we have to come with a, so what he's saying that places which are safe and with social distancing measures, try and get and provide an exit to those kids. And places which are in hotspot, you can still do online and do a hybrid mechanism, and then move to a percentile based system. So you actually need to think through the situation such that everyone gets graded. Ultimately, everyone wants to be graded and wants to be graded in a particular percentile manner. But someone has to initiate the debate, and what you are doing is initiating that debate and forcing on CBSE and all the academic bureaucrats to say that, come on, we have to do this.
Just far too much.
And a hybrid model, because you cannot, I can tell you that no one can say internet is undeniable. And if we are not taking those decisions, we are going to miss it.
But I must point this out clearly. Imagine in a family where there are 3 children. Not everybody can think in terms of having 3 devices. Then how will these 3 children end up having an internet?
And I think that's a solvable problem, Bhupen. That problem is addressable. You open up the factory in Greater Noida and ask them to make 1 crore mobile phones and ship it to all the homes.
Now you see now.
No,
we
it's
want
very
to-
easy. It's not at all difficult.
Bhupen
It is
will
not
either-
at all difficult provided it is
Bhupen,
not
it's
at all
very-
difficult provided we want to catch the bull by its horns.
Hazel.
May I add here? Trust my word that schools will be the last to open up, even if the lockdown is off.
No, you're right.
Because no government, no parent, no teacher.
Nobody will take a chance with children's lives. I'm with you,
But
Alka ji.
Bhupen,
Nobody will take a
Yeah.
chance
What do you mean,
with anyone's with anyone's
Bhupen, can you hear me?
with anyone's life. Yes, I can hear you. Just one moment. But I'm only just going to Hazel for a moment. Hazel, your view, Hazel. Is there an international model that we can really look out for a solution to this problem?
So I definitely would like to share, 2-3 points over here. I would personally share. My daughter is studying in Canada. She is doing her undergrad in a university in Canada, and so very closely I watched how very quickly the university kind of adapted in terms of accommodating students in the current scenario. And that's something we should really look at, and that's what I was talking about, breaking into two parts: short goals and long-term goals. We're trying to address everything in one go, which is not going to help us at all, given the situation. Now, very quickly there, everything did move online, and I do want to just kind of echo to Alka ma'am's point. The universities abroad, and I would speak generally in different countries, they are continuing with the session. So deferment could be there, and that is what Abhay talked about as a student. Everybody's adapting. Everybody's saying the student's interest is primemost for us, but the sessions will begin, whether it will be online. A lot of universities, I can say in North America, they would be looking, they've already opened up the session in fall as online, which means students who have got admission in, say for example, if I take Canada, they can start their course sitting here. And also the benefits that give the students have of, in terms of work permit and all of that, they have made very quickly changes in that. They have said even the education which is delivered online will add to the work opportunity that will collate at the end of their education whenever that happens. So everybody is kind of evolving in terms of supporting the student immediate. And then there is a long term, which means where you start reviewing what your education systems are. And then you start making in a kind of a responsive manner. And that's what we need to do here. Assessment, we are so hung up about our examination system, which is rote-based. We really need to evolve. If you look at, if I give as an example.
But again, Hazel, we're now, we start moving in esoteric directions. You see, right now, the state question is, there is someone like Chaubey. He's appeared for an exam. Yashoji has some solutions. The government, according to Alka ji, says, no, I'm not going to take a decision. So I want to know, if I have appeared for last one exam, I may have prepared very hard for the last 2 years to get into IIT or some engineering institute, or for that matter, some medical institute. I don't know what's in store for me. How is that basic nuance addressed?
You will have the decisions will, and some of the examples that some of the panelists and Sanjeeva has talked a lot about, in terms of, use predicted scores, use, teachers can adapt. They have been with a student almost a whole year. In terms of assessments can be done. Earlier, we did have a practice in CBSE of continuous evaluation.
How on the basis of predictive score will you get admission to AIMS or IIT or Delhi School of Engineering?
You will have to come up with a combination of things, which is an online exam, if there is an online opportunity for an entrance exam. But in terms of assessment, there has to be, if I give an example of how universities abroad take admission or give conditional offers to students from grade 12, the results are not yet out, but they look at 9, 10th, 11th, 12th, and they look at the school's recommendation letters.
Bhupen, I'd like to make a very important point. Bhupen, I'd like to make a very important point.
Since Yashoji cracked the IPS exam in his time, now please tell me, sir, what Hazel is saying, that start looking at the entire trajectory of 9, 10th, 11th, 12th. Really possible, Yashoji?
I'm telling you, if you use these unconventional methods, you'll have so many cases clogging the courts that you will never get out of it. India is a unique country where academics is a different ball game altogether. And that's why I'm asking for a complete level playing field, take the bull by the horn and decide on a few things and let the students know. Because as you said, people have to go for IIT, people have to go for medical. There, if you don't have a reasonable exam,
then
there
what
is
do you do?
no other way.
That's the whole problem. Well, on that note, to all of you, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks very much, Pratham, as well, for carrying out that poll for us. I want to put that poll, just as a final thought, our producers will put that poll up, because that's the reality. The reality is that a major chunk of students across India today are feeling anxious. You need to look at that number, and then you need to ask yourself, is the government taking enough steps to ensure that this uncertainty, this anxiety which exists on minds of so many students, is that uncertainty, is that anxiety really being addressed in some way or the other? Thanks all of you for joining us. Talk to Bhupen weeknights at 8 p.m. on all social media streams. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bhupen. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.